Okay, let's talk a little bit about columns and rows in Excel. If you remember a couple of chapters back, I was saying that Excel organizes our data into columns and rows. These vertical spaces, which run all over the screen, those are called columns. And they're referenced by these little letters that are up here. This is column A, column B, column C, and so on. These horizontal spaces are called rows, and they're referenced by numbers. This is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, and so on. When I have a cell in my worksheet, it's referenced by the row number and the column number. Usually Excel places the column number first. So this cell here, as you can see, is D and 4. And what I get here in the corner is that the name of the cell is D4, which is column D, row 4. If I change over here, it changes just the same. Cell G, 15. And that's what this says here, G15. Now, why is it important to know what cell we're on? Well, mainly because when you're talking with other people about an Excel spreadsheet, it's important to tell them where exactly the problem is. Believe me, every day I get tons of spreadsheets from colleagues and they tell me, look, there's a problem with the totals here. This total looks weird. And I'm like, okay, what total are you talking about? Where exactly are you seeing that error? It would be a whole lot different and a whole lot easier if they told me, look, the number on I-15 looks suspicious. So I just go to I-15 and I look at this number and see whether it's right or whether it's wrong. And I can reply to them, okay, no problem. The I-15 value is normal. That's the sum of J16 and the sum of J18. And that's where the number comes from, and everyone can understand where exactly the data is coming from. That's why it's important to know where exactly we are on the spreadsheet. One thing that Excel does that's really useful for finding columns and rows is that when you select something, the column automatically goes dark and the row automatically goes dark. This is really useful, especially when we're working really long worksheets. I mean, you can be here at the very end of the worksheet and it turns out your titles are completely off screen, but if you know that the totals are on row 9 and you see here that your shadow is on row 9, then you know you're looking at a total here. So that's why it's important to know these references, A9 and so forth, for the number of columns and the number of rows. Now, how many columns and how many rows can you have in Excel? Well, you can have a lot. Probably, as I said before, way more than you're ever going to need. Let me go to the very end of this worksheet. I mean, we're talking the last column here. The last column is column XFD. As you can see here, as I move to the right, when I run out of letters, Excel starts generating double letters. So after column Z, I get column AA, AB, AC, AD, and so forth. And when we reach column ZZ, we're going to start looking at 3-letter codes. So you're going to get AAA, AAB, AAC, and so forth until you get to column XFD. Now this is a total of 16,384 columns. That's, like I said, way more than you're ever going to need. If you ever need to use more than 100 columns in a spreadsheet, you probably need to separate that into several sheets. I'm going to tell you why later, but mainly it has to do with keeping your data in order so that you don't get any errors in it. Now, same thing for rows. You've got a ton of rows. I'm going to go to the last one. An Excel spreadsheet has 1,048,576 rows that you can use. And you're probably not going to use more than, the most I've used, I guess, is 5,000, 6,000 rows or something like that. But normally when you're working in Excel, you're only going to need a couple hundred at the most. I can hide columns and rows on an Excel spreadsheet, for example, if I don't want to look at them anymore, but if I still need the data to be there. Hiding a row or a column simply makes it invisible, but the data still exists and you can recover it at any time. I mean, you can make them visible at any time, said in another way. Okay, how do we do this? Well, in order to hide a column, what we do is we select the column. See, I'm taking my cursor and I'm putting it here on top of the column number, which is column E, and I'm going to click. And when I click, this entire column gets selected. Now what I do is I right click on this bar here, and from the menu that pops up, I'm going to select this option which says Hide. And as soon as I click Hide, the column disappears. Now the column is hidden and it still exists. As you can see, I have A, B, C, D, and it jumps to F. That's because column E is the column that I just hid. So if you're looking at these column designations up here and you notice that it skips a value, that's an indicator that there's a hidden column there. For rows, it's exactly the same thing. I'm going to take my rows, going to select them, right click here, and I'm going to take it and say Hide. And when I say Hide, my rows disappear. See, 5, 6, 7, 12. And the same thing if I do here with 15, 16, 17, Hide. 14 jumps to 18. 15, 16, and 17, which I just hid, are not there. Now if you look real carefully up here, between D and F, I have a double line. See these other lines? These are simple lines. But here, D, F, I have a double line. That means that there's a hidden column right there. And if you look right here, between 7 and 12, there's also a double line. And between 14 and 18, there's another double line. That's the way that you can tell that there's a hidden column there. If you see a thicker line or a double line in these separators, that means that there's something there. Now, how do I unhide a column? Well, there's several things that you can do. Number one, if you got real precise mouse work, you can go right here to one of the lines and see the cursor changes into 2 vertical lines. I click here and I'm going to pull this wide open. And there's my column E. Same thing here. Going to be real precise, move my cursor until it changes into a double line, then click and drag. And there we go. Row 17. Now notice on the rows that I had 3 hidden and I only revealed 1. That's the problem with this method. You have to reveal them one by one. If I wanted to do them all at once, like right here where I have 8, 9, 10, and 11 hidden, what I do is I select 7, I select 12, and I right click and go Unhide. And that'll unhide all the rows that I have in between those two automatically. Let's try that again down here. 14, 17, Unhide, and there they are. See, so it's much easier to do it this way. You see, you select all these columns, hide them, and if you want to reveal them, select this one, select the last one, see, and we're going to reveal all these in between when we do Unhide. And there they are. See, so that's what a row is, that's what a column is, and that's how you hide and show rows in Excel. Thanks for watching this video tutorial. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and to visit our website, cubicleoverlords.com, for more instructional videos like this one.